Well, I didn't die. Well, here I am on my front porch studio post-death ride. It was just a few days ago now, and as you can see, been there, did the ride, got the t-shirt. And let me tell you, my friends, that was a hard ride for this old guy. And in upcoming videos, I'll be talking about my the bike setup and my training and how that went, what I would have done anything different or taken a different bike, etc., etc. And maybe one more video on doing very hard things as an older cyclist, because this one this had me questioning myself a little bit. But first, let me take you through the day as it was and talk about the ride. In case you want to go there and experience it, well, you'll have a little insight to what I went through. All right, let's get going, shall we? So to begin with, the ride starts in Markleeville, California, which is kind of nestled in the foothills of the Sierras there, and kind of close to Reno, but really not quite, just up into the mountains off the Highway 395. If you look at the profile of the ride here, it's significant. It's very lumpy. It's not as, it's a very digital ride, but it's different than like the climb to Kaiser I did last year, which just went up for pretty much 80 miles and then kind of went pretty much down for, I don't know, what would that been, 70 miles or something like that. That's what it felt like anyway. This was different. This went up 10 miles and down 10 miles and up 10 miles and down 10 miles, and then up another 10 miles and 5 miles here, 2 miles down, 5 miles up. My goodness. And it was all at altitude. So for a flatlander, if you're starting at 6,000 feet, you're going to 9 repeatedly, and you're kind of doing that back and forth. That added to the difficulty of the ride, along with the fact it was exceptionally hot. I'd heard about potentially the weather, but I was thinking more like thunderstorms or something in the mountains in the afternoons, and it was very hot. And that made this exceptionally difficult for this old guy. Anyway, let's get on with the ride. To begin with, it starts in the dark. I started at 5 o'clock at the meeting place, and I'd already checked in and all that. And you roll down the road a little bit, and you kind of, as the sun's starting to rise into the canyon, as the sunlight is starting to come up in the morning, dawn is breaking, and you find yourself riding along a really nice river valley, slightly uphill. Then you make the left turn and the climbing really begins. You start to climb the west side of Monitor Pass. Now, it's a 10-mile climb, give or take a little bit, 3,000 feet or so, I think. And that wasn't bad at all. For one thing, the sun is, it's dawn, but the sun's not on you. And the grade was reasonably easy. And I just found myself in my gear, and my heart rate's where I wanted it to be. I was staying like zone 2, top of zone 2, right in there, talking speed, so to speak. And I found myself, chatting with people here and there on the way up, including this guy on an amazing, colorful trek. Man, what a beautiful paint job. This guy right here, I'm going to talk about him in another video. Dude was 74 years old, and he passed me. Pretty soon, we roll up to the top, to the sag, and you're at the summit, or it is just past the sag. So once you come through the sag point, you roll on to the very top of the road to the sound of, well, bagpipes, of all things. Oh, we got bagpipes on the summit. How great is that? You roll over the top and you begin the big drop. You drop down to the eastern side of Monitor Pass. And let me tell you, it is a big descent. Another 10-mile or so descent. And the views from there, unreal. I mean, you don't want to take your eyes off the road because you're going pretty fast. And but boy, you gotta, because it's absolutely beautiful. But that's okay, just wait, because you'll be grinding your way back up this, because once you hit the bottom at the sag, you flip around, you climb all the way back up to the top of Monitor Pass. And as I said, it's a bit of a, you got plenty of time to look at the views, because you're going a lot slower than you did on the way down. But still, I found myself actually doing really well. My heart rate was elevated a bit for where I wanted it, but it is what it is, and I still had plenty of gear and plenty of legs, and it was actually not bad at all. And pretty soon, well, we are back at the top of Monitor Pass with a lovely descent down into that canyon with the river again. And once we got that descent all taken care of, well, we made a left turn and began the next climb up Ebbets Pass. And there, well, things got a little bit more challenging. Right up to Ebbets Pass, that's the third biggie. It has some of the steepest grades in it. It is so beautiful, though. It just gets prettier and prettier the more you go up the road. It becomes to be a very, very narrow road. Like, I'm talking like difficult for two big trucks to pass each other without somebody doing a little hallway dance, you know what I'm saying, to get out of the way. However, at this point, we're still on closed roads. I don't know if I mentioned that. This ride, for the first quite a few hours, the three main passes are closed to cars, which, wow, that's really nice, isn't it? So we're still on a closed road, and it just gets prettier and prettier, and it also gets steeper and steeper. And right by now, well, it's getting hot like hot coffee. Excuse me. Yes, at one point, I'm rolling along at about 4 miles an hour, grinding along in my lowest gear on my Time 80HX, and I look down, I'm thinking, how hot is it? Look at my computer, 97. Oh, and let me tell you, that went on for a lot of miles. As pretty as it was, there was a lot of suffering going up Ebbets Pass, and I was not alone. You know, by now, the fast people, faster people, you know, they're gone. They're heading back to have a burger. But there was a whole large group of us that weren't all that fast, and there was a whole lot of shade looking for as people were climbing up this climb. You just go from shade patch to shade patch. You'd pant like a dog, and you'd pedal out in the sun, and you'd keep going. I even managed at one point to get off my bike and consider, well, walking is wise.
Yeah, this is me walking. I don't know what the grade is. What's the grade here? Grade is 10, 11, 12, 12%, and it's almost 100 degrees. Yeah, I'm going just fast walking as I would be riding, so we'll walk for a little bit and then we'll get back on. I'm walking along questioning my judgment in doing things like this. I get a text from my son. I guess I got cell service right here. It says, change your life. Talking about getting dip bars for exercises that I want to add. I'm like, well, changing my life right now sounds like a great idea, but I don't think dip bars would help me. From one dip to another, you know what I'm saying?
But eventually, we get to the top of Ebbets Pass, and there's a sag there. And let me tell you, I had to do a little bit of self-examination, shall we say. I bet I stayed there 15 or 20 minutes or so, contemplating life and my decisions, because I was really suffering. And I almost thought, well, here's the deal. At Ebbets Pass, you're in at about 53 miles. If I turned around and went back to camp and said, pulled the pin, right? I'm done, work day. It's 20-mile downhill. I mean, yeah. And then if I keep going over Ebbets Pass down toward Pacific Grade and the real turnaround, it ends up being another 30 miles of riding to get back to where I am right now. And I really debated, and I thought about it. I do not like quitting. I also don't want to hurt myself. And after a while, I really wasn't cramping, and I was just suffering, and I thought, looking around me, well, everybody's suffering like me. And I thought, I may never come this way again. So I nosed my bike over and dropped a 5-mile descent that I'd had to climb back up, and with another 2-mile descent after that, a 2-mile descent after that, and then a 2-mile climb back, and you know what I mean? And some of the steepest stuff. You come around a corner, and there would be like this switch back here. I'll show you in the video. It doesn't come out in the ride in the video very well. But that switch back here I'm riding up is so steep. There's gouges in the pavement left by, I don't know, trailers or bumpers of cars or something. That's how steep that was. It was like, wow. Yeah, that was kind of the flavor of a lot of Ebbets Pass, and even on up to Pacific Grade too. Same thing. Man, just you come around the corner, just go boop, 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 and it's like, oh man. But I made it. I made it to the turnaround, and I worked my way back up to Ebbets Pass. And from there, well, my friends, let me tell you, that descent, that was one honey of a descent. So at this point, we're at about 83 miles or so, and what's left for me is a pretty much 20-mile downhill with a little bit of an uphill. I'm gonna leave you with a nice some music, and I'll show you that downhill, and we'll leave you with that. And at the end, you'll notice all of a sudden it kind of gets into town. There's some cars, and we're coming back to the staging area, and that was like a 1-mile climb, and it's well into the 90s, and oh, I felt like I was in a roasting pan, but I made it. And at the end, somebody handed me a popsicle while I'm standing in line to check in. Oh man, that was the best popsicle in the whole world. Thank you, popsicle person. So my thoughts on the death ride. It's hard. It was very hard. The heat made it harder than it was for someone who isn't used to riding at altitude. That made it difficult because we're running between 6,000 and 9,000 feet a lot. We didn't really ever come down lower than that, where the other big rides I've done would start at low altitude and go to high altitude. You just didn't camp there like this ride did. Very difficult. In fact, I would say probably for at least that day, this was the hardest ride I've ever done in one day. That's where I leave it. Check out the death ride. Next year will be the 45th annual running of it. And you know what? This old guy, I'm pretty sure I won't be there. You guys have a great week and or weekend. Go challenge yourself. Be wise in doing so, though, because this was very, very hard for this old guy. I'm talking about that in upcoming episodes, because I'm thinking I may be done doing really hard things. And now I leave you with, well, a nice long descent. One of the best descents I have ever done on a bicycle. Enjoy.
Easy rider on the highway, station wagon going slow, windows open, you are basking in the bluegrass radio. It is easy now to see you with your hand out on the wind. I keep this folded at the corner so that I could not forget. Folded at the corner so that I could not forget. Pink azaleas by your driveway shade our leisurely goodbyes. In your terry cotton sweater, with your arms sweeping the sky. It was then I had a knowing you were waving till the bend. I keep this folded at the corner so that I could not forget. Folded at the corner so that I could not forget. And your shadow to the coast, past the surfing whitewashed beaches, under cypress trees and smoke, carved like lovers into driftwood. On this moment I depend. I keep this folded at the corner so that I could not forget. Folded at the corner so that I could not forget. Folded at the corner so that